Okay, this metabolic efficiency test I did on a 46-year-old female pre-menopausal fitness enthusiast. So works out a few times a week, busy mom, busy person. And interestingly enough, she's starting to show signs of going into perimenopause. Now, in addition to this metabolic efficiency test, which I'll get to in 1 second, we also did some hormone balance testing to determine if her signs and symptoms of early perimenopause were actually justified or not. And they absolutely were. So from that test, we saw significant declines in estrogen, but specifically progesterone. And based on those results, puts her in an estrogen dominance category. So keeping that all in mind, in addition to having some previous blood work so I could look at her insulin and fasting blood sugar and blood lipid levels, kind of put everything together with this metabolic efficiency test. Now, let me get to this test. So this was actually a walking protocol. So we chose to have her walk at 3.6 miles per hour. And as you can see from the data table below, we started at an incline of 1% and ended at 9%. So instead of increasing speed every 4 minutes, my walking protocol provides us to have a person still do the test without running, so they will be walking, but every 4 minutes, I actually increase the incline by 2%. So you can see her associated heart rate and her rating of perceived exertion on a 1 to 10 scale down below. Now, this was yet another interesting metabolic efficiency test that I've done with a female in her 40s. The first one that you likely watched on the Energy Performance YouTube channel was on a 47-year-old ultra female runner. Now, this particular test is interesting. Once again, there's actually a lot of interesting things going on. But again, you may have been hearing a lot of people out there saying that females are more inclined to burn fat, or they're better at burning fat. And test after test, metabolic efficiency test after test, it's, just proving that that's not the case. Each one of us is definitely N of one, and we have different scenarios, different genetics, different lifestyle habits, nutrition habits, exercise habits. So it's very wrong to just state as a whole that one gender is dominant in using more, or the ability to use more fat as energy versus the other. It's just not fair, and it's inaccurate. So back to this 46-year-old female premenopausal fitness enthusiast. As you can see from the beginning, she is burning a high amount of carbohydrates from the early on. And it just gets even higher and higher and higher as the exercise intensity increases. Now, interestingly, during the warm-up, I do quite a bit of data collection during the 5 to 10 minute warm-up, and I did notice that her respiratory exchange ratio, which basically provides us data on how much the body is burning fat and burning carbohydrates, that number was actually below the 50-50 split, which means this. During a walking warm-up, which was very, very low intensity for her, her body was using slightly more fat as energy. When I say slightly, I mean it was more like 52% from fat, 48% from carbohydrate. But once we started to increase the intensity just slightly, and what I mean there is going from an incline of 0 to 1%, what we saw was her body immediately responded to that slight increase in intensity by increasing her carbohydrate burning quite significantly. So if you look at this, obviously, this individual is not metabolically efficient. She's extremely efficient in burning carbohydrate and storing fat. Now, a little bit of the background that I think is really helpful for this. Not only is she entering her perimenopausal period, but she is also complaining of belly fat, weight gain, especially around the midsection, and she really wants to improve her body composition. Now, with all the blood work and the hormone testing we did in addition to the metabolic efficiency, it's pretty obvious that nutrition changes needed to be made. And upon having the discussion after the test and interpreting the data, I did find out that she is not balancing her blood sugar the best that she can. She definitely prefers her carbohydrate. She has that infamous afternoon, crash, if you will, between 2 and 4 p.m., where all she wants is sugar or caffeine. And those are clear signs that the body simply is not undergoing optimal blood sugar control. So, in addition to that, and her body composition goals, what we did for her was my dietary interpretation and plan for her was to start by following the 2-to-1 ratio, the hand model, if you're familiar with that from all of my interpretations that I've been doing here. So that's 2 hands of carbohydrate to 1 hand of protein, and emphasizing when she chooses food, meals, and or snacks, to choose protein first, then surround it with a colorful food, and that could be a vegetable or fruit, and then ask the question, does she need a starch or a grain? So in this particular case, because she is not training for any event, she's a fitness enthusiast working out a couple times a week. These are clear times where I have these conversations with these individuals saying, you can supply all of your body's energy needs from a carbohydrate standpoint simply from vegetables and fruits. Now, what we found was she was over consuming starches and grains, under consuming vegetables and fruits, and really under consuming protein. So this is, I mean, from a dietary intervention, it's kind of an easy fix. However, because it is a significant behavior change for her, what I'm doing in terms of the follow-up is giving her about 6 weeks to start to implement this because of the behavior change process. And then we'll follow up again to not do another test, but just to kind of check in over the phone, just to make sure that she is having success changing her behavior based on her lifestyle, based on all of her commitments in terms of family, social, and work. So overall, taking the data not only from the metabolic efficiency test, providing a nutrition plan, but also having data from recent blood work and also from this hormone balance test really gives a better, clear picture of how I wanted to proceed with her in terms of helping her move through the premenopausal to perimenopausal period of her life. So hopefully this interpretation helps. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for my next interpretation video.